Welcome to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast, where every week, Kirsten and Jeanne dive into the essential topics to fuel your business growth. From copywriting to course creation, mindset to video marketing, they've got you covered. Tune in for expert guest interviews on all things marketing and business, and learn how to work on your business, not just in it. So, get ready to unlock your business potential and take it to the next level.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our newest episode. We are thrilled and excited to have a sales maven with us. We have Nikki Rausch, and she is CEO of Sales Maven. She has a unique ability to transform the misunderstood process of selling, which I know is an issue for a lot of people out there. She's got 25 plus years of selling experience, and she works with entrepreneurs and small business owners, helping them learn how to sell successfully and authentically. She also has 3 books on Amazon. We'll have to find out about that. And she has a podcast called Sales Maven. So welcome, Nikki. It's lovely to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with both of you.
It's going to be fun because you're going to take this from a little bit of a different perspective. You're going to take it from the perspective of networking, both online and offline. So this is exciting. Tell us a little bit more about your perspective on online and offline networking and how it relates to sales.
How I think about it is it's always about building relationships. And I always say relationship first and rapport always. So everything I teach is based on the foundation of rapport. In order to sell to somebody, you need to have rapport. And the best and easiest way to earn somebody's business is through building relationships. So that's what networking is, right? It's about making connections with people and finding out who they are, what's important to them. And when you have permission, and if it makes sense, if you have something that would benefit them in some way, you've got permission to put it in front of them. Now we're having a real conversation about ways that my product, my service, what I offer could benefit them in some way. And then we get to the place where we're actually exchanging dollars for services. When you think about most of us, our business is built from relationships, right? Like, people don't just give you money out of the blue. Very few of us have stuff where people just come out of nowhere and give you money. There's usually some type of relationship that happens. And yeah, networking.
I do love that you're taking it from the angle of relationships, because I think sometimes in this online space, we can forget how important it is to have great relationships with the people who are possibly your prospects, but also with your client and with your team. And I think that it's not only what makes us successful, it's what makes us happy. I think those relationships in business make us truly happy. And I think that's something people totally overlook.
Yeah, one of the things that often people experience, and one of the reasons why I do what I do, which is teach people the conversation of sales, is that we've had sales done to us, right? We've had somebody who's shown up at an event or shown up in our inbox or whatever and is pitching, and it comes off really gross and icky. And we don't want to be that way. And so then we hold ourselves back because we're like, oh, I don't want people to think I'm icky and gross. So then therefore, I don't ever bring up my product, my service. And then now people are actually missing out on what could benefit them in some way because you don't feel comfortable doing it because you don't want to do it how you see other people doing it. And I often say sales isn't something that you do to another person. It's something you do with another person. And so it is for me about relationship, and it's about conversation. It's about permission. And yeah, when you put the relationship first, sales get so much easier.
I agree. Tell me a little bit about maximizing online events. So how do you advise people? I'm going to attend a networking event tomorrow, Thursday, and it's an online networking event. We'll break out in a small group, really high caliber people in the group so far that I've met have been really impressed. So I'm excited to learn more about how I can maximize that.
So there's a couple of things that I recommend in these types of situations. One is be visible at the event. Make sure your camera's on so people see you. Be engaged in the comments. If people are commenting, be engaged with them. Comment on other people's comments. Ask a question. Go live where you get called on. They get to hear your voice. And before you ask the question, give some premise to the question. State what it is that you do. So you could say, as somebody who coaches women on how to sell, here's my question for you. That just already planted a seed of, oh, that's what Nikki does. And so it gives you that visibility that you don't get when you just sit in the background with your camera off and listen in. So be engaged. So that's one way. Ask a question and give some little bit of a pre-frame to that question that talks about who you are and what you do. I actually have a client, by the way, and I told her to start doing this I have a group coaching program. And I said, every time you come to the group coaching program, ask a question. And now I ask my people to always give a pre-frame at the beginning of who they are, what they do, and it gives context to the question. She has gotten so much business from other members of the group because she's so visible there. So if you're going to take time out of your day to attend a networking event, whether it's virtual or in person, be visible. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is look for people who are also engaged and asking questions and send them a little private message of encouragement or appreciation for the question or what they shared. And, or if you have a resource that isn't you trying to pitch them and sell to them, but if you have, hey, here's a resource, would you be interested in it? Ask them first. And if they say, yeah, send it my way, then you're starting to develop relationship with one other person on the meeting. So it doesn't just feel like, oh, it's just a bunch of faces. It's like, oh, Nikki actually sent me a personalized message and I can respond back to her. And now we're having a little bit of a conversation. So even if I'm not interested in hiring a sales coach, and even if I don't even know yet what she does, the next time I see her at an event, I'm going to feel more drawn to her because she extended herself to me first. So be willing to extend yourself.
I love that because when you're in an online networking group, and if somebody does message you privately, the first thing you're going to do is go, where are they? Who are they? And you're going to check them out. So, it's made them suddenly stand out to you. So these are great suggestions.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about how I'm going to implement that on Thursday. Yes. So you also talk in your trainings a lot about the role that curiosity plays in networking.
So I love curiosity. So just to give some context to it, I teach a 5-step framework for a successful sales conversation. So I call it the selling staircase. I wrote my 3rd book around it. And step 2 of the selling staircase is about creating curiosity. And it is the most missed step. And when I ask people who are struggling with sales, do you know how to create curiosity when you're talking about your business or what you do? They look at me like, what now? What do you mean create curiosity? But yet, if you don't create curiosity, and if you're not able to do that, oftentimes you miss out on actually getting to have real conversations with real prospects because they don't know who you are. They don't know what you do. They don't know how they'll benefit from knowing you. So how can you create curiosity that makes people want to know more or lean in or ask you a question? Because now that opens the door, right? When someone asks you a question, now it opens the door for you to have some conversation and actually answer the question from a place of expertise. So an example of this would be at a networking event, for instance, is what question do you ask somebody that lets them either, what does that mean? Or tell me more about that. So it could be in the form of a question, but it can also be in the form of an answer. For instance, if somebody asks you something like, hey, how are you today? You could actually create curiosity in your answer. Now, most people don't because they say, oh, I'm fine. How are you? That doesn't create any curiosity. But what if you have an answer that sparks them to go, what's that? Or tell me more about that. What if you said something like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm having the greatest day because I just found out that my podcast is in the top 1% of all podcasts globally. Now, what's going to be their next question? Maybe they say congratulations and move on. Or maybe they go, I don't care about podcasting and move on. But more than likely, they're going to go, what's your podcast about?
Love that.
I would have never thought about that. That's amazing. That's just a basic, how are you doing? We're going to pull the transcript of that. So it'll be in the show notes for everyone, because sometimes there's these little pieces of gold and it's so simple, yet so powerful. That's like an amazing tip. And so then you encourage people to also find different ways to create curiosity in the conversation when they're networking, so people inquire about more.
Yeah. So one would be the way you ask them a question, right? So I talked about answering a question, but what question could you ask? One question you might ask somebody, for instance, is, what have you found to be the most powerful thing about being involved in this networking group? That's a great question. Maybe I just said it. So now I sound like I'm patting myself on the back. I don't mean that, but that's a good question to spur information. And chances are people haven't been asked that question before. So they have to think of their answer on the fly. They'll give their answer, and then likely they'll come back at you and ask you the same question. Now you want to have an answer that allows them to go, oh, what does that mean? So you might say something like, one of the best benefits I found from being in this group is it's allowed for me to have exposure to people I didn't even know were out there and find ways to serve them. It's been really exciting how many clients I've gotten from this group. Now people are like, what do you do? What are people hiring you for? They're like leaning in going, tell me more, because maybe I need that.
Of this. I love it. How else do you use curiosity? So clearly curiosity did not kill the cat. So are there other ways that you teach using curiosity when you're networking?
I'll tell you one that I would say to use online on your social media. Is that okay if I use it from that perspective?
Please.
Because we're building connections there too. One of the things that we will often do is we'll share an accomplishment, right? We'll talk about something really exciting going on in our business but if you really want people to lean in and want to know about it, start by asking them a question. Don't bury the question at the bottom of your post. Put it at the top. So for instance, you might say to somebody, or you might post on social media, what has been one of the most gratifying pieces of your work? Leave some white space and then answer the question, because people will go, oh, I want to answer that question, but now I also want to read what is Kirsten's answer, right? And now that gets people going, oh, now it feels like conversation versus just being talked at all the time on social media.
Yeah, and questions do get so much more engagement because again, it's that relationship of having the conversation. I love that. It's so funny because in one of my networking groups, someone kind of joked and like, she's the outsourcing queen. So I embraced that. And now that group, when it's fun, I'm like, yeah, I'm the marketing outsourcing queen. It is interesting because people will ask about it later. And it's just something simple that it was done in jest. And now that I've done it a couple of weeks in a row, it's been interesting to see how that's played out.
Yeah, it makes you more memorable, right? It gives our brain something to go like, oh, I can make an association now, or I can make some type of a connection. And our brains love that, right? It feeds the brain when you can make a connection like that. And they go, oh, what does that mean? Or, oh, I know that you're the outsourcing queen. So do you help people with this or with that? Because now they're trying to think of, what does that mean?
That's amazing. Now, do you do a lot of offline networking? Are you out locally networking in your area?
I used to be. When I was first building my business, I really did build my business by networking and speaking really heavily in my local area. I now work with clients around the world, so I don't do as much networking as I used to online. I actually prefer to do my networking in coaching programs and live events, right? Like I want to go to a retreat, or I want to go to an event where like-minded people are going to be there and we can grow and learn together. And I find that actually I get a lot of business doing that as well, because you get to know people and they're like, oh, maybe I need help with sales. So of course I'm going to go to the person I feel comfortable with, which is Nikki.
I love
think
that.
most people need help with sales. I don't know if you ever really outgrow needing help with sales, because I think it's one of those things that's always evolving, or maybe you had a bad couple of months and that rocks your confidence, or maybe you were taught techniques and things in the past that don't really align with who you are now. So I feel like sales coaching is something that most business owners, especially since most of them don't think of themselves as salespeople, really can benefit ongoing throughout their career, throughout their business.
Yeah, it's actually really common for me to work with somebody for a bit and then for them to leave, and then something will change in their business. They're going in a new direction, or they've scaled their business in some new way, or maybe they've got team members now that they need some support with. And then they come back and they're like, okay, I'm ready to elevate my game a little bit more, get more comfortable in these certain situations that now I'm putting myself in. So how can I get better at the language piece? Because that's really what I specialize in, is the conversation.
I was gonna say, I love that you built your business initially locally. I think so many people want to start an online business because I think they think it's going to be easy. And building an online business is just like building an offline business. Nothing's really easy, and there's easy parts to it. But we like to always tell our clients there's probably $100,000, if not $1 million, in your own backyard. For most people, what they do, if they live in a halfway decent sized community, then there's tons of business there. And we do recommend for a lot of our clients, if you've never really been in networking, check out a BNI group, or check out your local chamber, or find other things that feel right for you to get involved with, and start building those local community relationships. Because people, I feel like locally, they have a lot of desire to help each other. It's like, if you do well in my community, then that means the community is doing better. So I think that's such a powerful tool for people to use.
I love that you said that. I think I 100% agree. Yes. And it gives you practice, right? Because you're having more conversations. If you think you're building your business online and you're wondering, like, I put up a website, like, why aren't people just flocking to it and paying me money? That's not how business works, unfortunately. So, you got to get your reps in. You have to be comfortable talking about who you are, what your business does. You have to practice creating curiosity, and networking and local. That's the perfect opportunity to test the waters and see what lights people up. What are you saying that gets them going like, oh, tell me more about that, or that's so interesting, or oh my gosh, I've been waiting for someone like you to come along because we need help with XYZ in our business. So yeah, get your reps in. Definitely build your business local.
Yeah, I love that. So I've heard you talk about a Strive 5. Can you tell us what that is?
So Strive 5 is something that I came up with years ago when I was going to attend a pretty high profile, like big conference. Now, I am an introvert. Most people think that's weird because being a sales coach, but I'm an introvert and I find being in large groups overwhelming. So I need to like break it down. And yet, if I'm going to spend money and time to go somewhere, I want to make sure that I get the max value and that I do my due diligence, right? Like I extend myself, I put myself out there. So before I go to an event, I create what I call my Strive 5 list. These are 5 people that I know are going to be at the event that I want to build relationship with. So notice I'm not saying I want to sell to, I'm trying to convince them to be my client. No, that's not it. It's 5 people I want to build relationship with. And then by having that list, it forces me to do things that aren't always in my comfort zone. Oh, I see they just sat down at that table. I'm going to go ask if I can sit next to them and start a conversation. Or, oh, we're looking for partners in the group. So I'm going to ask them if they'll be my partner. So I do things to extend myself to start to build connection and relationship. And the very first year that I implemented this, when I was going to this big event, I had 5 people on the list. One of them was actually it was her event, pretty high profile person. And I wasn't going in with this idea of like, oh, she's going to become a client. Yet she did become a client. I actually became a client of hers. And she actually asked me to come back and be a speaker 2 years after, for 2 years in a row at her event, from us building connection at her event, right? So it opened huge doors. And actually the first year I went back and spoke at her event, my business exploded from being on her stage. So that was huge, right? There was somebody else in the group who on my Strive 5, who I ended up I made myself sit next to her on an open bus seat on a bus, like coming back from an excursion that we went to, and we started conversation. She ended up doing an event and she invited me to come and built relationship with her and her husband. They have a very successful business. I've coached with them. I have been featured on their podcast a couple times. They still talk about me all the time. It has just created this huge relationship. And I can go down the road, like the other 3 people on my list, all of them became clients. That wasn't the intention when I went in. It was about building relationships. So I love to have a Strive 5 at an event, just with this idea of you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's possible, but yet most of us can attribute a lot of our success to who we know. It's like so-and-so opened a door for me. Oh, how do you know that person? Oh, we were in a networking group together 20 years ago. Or, oh, we did XYZ together 5 years ago. So have that Strive 5 list and be strategic and build relationship and see what happens. Great things, I find.
How did you decide who went on your list? How did you decide which 5 people? And again, so was this a list where did they have a Facebook group of people attending ahead of time? How did it work that you found the 5 people and decided on the 5 people?
This particular event that I mentioned, she had a podcast. She had a really successful podcast. And these people had been on her podcast. They had been guests on her podcast. So I listened to her podcast and I was like, I'd like to know that person. They seem really interesting. They're very smart. They really know when they're talking about their thing that they're the expert on, you can tell they have a lot of expertise around it. So that was really for me. It was like, I like to be around people who I feel like are ahead of me in business. I always want to be the small fish in the big pond, right? I want to extend myself and be around people who have achieved things that I aspire to achieve. So all of these women that were on her podcast had reached a certain level in their business that I was like, oh, I really admire that. And I'd like to get to know them.
I love that. And some of the bigger conferences will also have an app where you can see some of the people who are attending, and you may not know them, but you can look them up and check out their industry and see if they might be somebody that you'd want to get to know. Or I guess do you also sometimes do a type of person or a person in a particular industry?
Yeah, you certainly could. You could create your Strive 5 list around any criteria that you want. Think about what's important to you. So for me, I really like to be around people, like I said, who I think have reached a level of success or have been or are experts at something that I feel like I'm lacking in. So I just feel challenged to be around those people. So that's how I pick them. But there's lots of ways that you can do a little bit of research, right? You could put a post out onto LinkedIn and go, hey, is anybody going to this conference? And see who responds. You can ask, are there any pre-events happening where you get the opportunity to see who's going to be there? And sometimes I mentioned going to retreats. I did this before I went to a retreat a couple of years ago where I identified there was one person, it was a pretty small group of us going, but we had a pre-call before I went to the event. And so she became my Strive 5 person. So I did what I said earlier, like I sent her a private message. So I was very recognizable to her at the retreat. I approached her at the retreat to extend myself so she didn't have to come introduce herself to me. I'm going over to introduce myself to her. We built relationship and she opened the door for a huge opportunity for me that was a year long, like where I stepped in to coach in somebody else's program. That person didn't know who I was. I would have never been on his radar, but it was because she knew him and I extended myself to her. She was like, oh, I have a sales coach who can help you and help your people.
That's amazing. You give very practical tips, which I think is so important. Sometimes I think people, they want to make it like magic or they want to hide the secret sauce. And I love how you're just talking about extend yourself. And sometimes that is hard. I think like you, people think I'm a raging extrovert, but I'm definitely on the introvert side. And so is Jeanne. I think that for all of us, we love people. We love having conversations with people. But sometimes, who do I go and talk to or what should I eat? But if you had that list and you were prepared and you would research them a little bit, then you would feel more confident to walk up to them and to have that conversation. So I think that's just a brilliant strategy.
And Jeanne said too, she was like, can you just have a type of person? Absolutely. Because if you have a type of person and you're meeting people at an event, you can say, I'm really interested in meeting somebody that is in this type of a field, or I'm really interested in connecting with people that have this type of a background. Because now you're creating an ambassador in the person that you're saying, who do you want to connect with? And then when they meet that person, they're going to be like, oh, I got to introduce you to Jeanne, because Jeanne had mentioned she was looking to meet people that are in this field. So you start to create ambassadors with other people that you're still building a relationship with. They're just not on the Strive 5. Doesn't mean they're not important. They're just not that like the focus.
Nikki, you are, like Kirsten said, you are so full of great tips. So you have to tell us, what are the names of your 3 books?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So the first book I wrote actually before I started my business, and it's called 6-Word Lessons on Influencing with Grace. It's all about communication tips. So it comes from my background in neurolinguistic programming. The second book is called Buying Signals. And I wrote that because I was shocked that people didn't know that there's such things as buying signals and how to respond when you get one. So it's just packed full with that. And then the third book is called The Selling Staircase. And that's where I break down the 5 steps to a successful sales conversation. And if you're thinking about checking one out, I would say, if you really want to dig into sales, The Selling Staircase is the most comprehensive around sales and communication. So thank you for asking.
I love it. And how can people reach out to you and how do you work with people? Do you mind sharing a little bit of that with us?
Oh, thanks for asking. So I work with people in a couple different ways. I do private coaching. I have a group coaching program, which is called the Sales Maven Society. And then I have a resource hub for people who are I just like to go at my own pace and get access to trainings. That's called the Sales Maven Studio. I don't even know, a myriad of sales scripts in there for you and trainings and resources. And as far as getting a hold of me, I always like to wrap it around a gift for your audience, if that's okay. So I have an ebook and it's called Closing the Sale. And it actually talks through the last 3 steps of the sales conversation of how to set yourself up for success there. It's about building your confidence in your consult calls. And you can get that by going to yoursalesmaven.com/6-figure. So this is for your audience.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. It's fantastic. We would love to have you back if you're open to that. I'm thinking about so many different conversations that we'd love to have you share with our audience. If you're open to that, let us know. But thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the 6-Figure Business Mastery Podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this episode and you are ready to leverage video marketing on all online platforms, or maybe even start your own video podcast, then you need to check out the Done For You and Done With You program at themarketingvaadvantage.com and take your business to the next level.